Once again, you have your beautiful scale that shows you how, in this particular example, you see how normally the green lights are up above, right? With beliefs, you only have the middle scores that is harmonious, which means that the person knows who they are, they know what they believe in because they have studied it, but they have experienced it. So it's kind of in the cells, it's in the skin, it's in the body. And everything that's above 40 or below 10 tends to amplify reactivity and either go towards rigidity, moving up, and resistance to change, or go move when it goes downwards, it moves towards reactivity, scatterbrain syndrome, unreliability, inconsistency, and so on. Let's look now at how we can help someone with a high score, with a tendency to be a little bit rigid in their belief system. So first of all, we want to help them identify, recognize these rationalization mechanisms. These are people that when you start arguing with them or having a discussion with them, they over-justify themselves. They keep throwing out data and information and books and authors and studies and researches to support their belief system. And if you start arguing with them on that level, it will just bring you nowhere. It will drain your energy and you will not change their mind in any case. So avoid all sorts of logical confrontations with them. But you want to help them identify that this is their escape route. This is where they go. You also want to use numerical indicators and objective facts. So remember, results are created by actions that are created by ideas. So if the numbers do not move, the statistics do not move, it means that the actions have not changed. Or if the actions have changed, the ideas behind them hasn't changed. So we know we have to keep working on the beliefs. Numerical indicators, statistics, and trends are a great tool to work with people with high belief trait. Also, you want to intrigue them and stimulate them to practice changing certain habits. If they do one thing repeatedly every day, maybe multiple times a day, and they're very attached to that type of behavior, you try and get them to change it or not do it or do something new instead. One little thing at a time. For example, one of my clients, he's the owner of a medical clinic, and he stopped shaving. He had his whole skincare routine in the morning, and he had this belief that because he was a doctor, he could not go to work with an unshaved face. And I said, okay, well, let's try it. I wonder if your business is going to close down if you show up with a little bit of a beard on your face. And you could see the emotional strain for him in accepting this challenge, but he did. For 2 weeks, he would not shave completely. He would do the skincare routine, but he would just let his beard grow. It was a very silly experiment, but I wanted him to test, to go against a belief, a simple one, shaving in the morning, because I wanted him to experience the rigidity that was present inside him for about this particular action, shaving in the morning, but that was also present in so many other actions inside the actual company that were holding him back. Because people with a high trait tend to be very rigid and very attached to what they know to be true, they have a communication style that sometimes can be very top to bottom, authoritarian, and not particularly warm. That has been my experience. And so sometimes it helps to get them to work on their communication style, on their tone, on their nonverbal cues so that they can bring a little bit more empathy, a little bit more warmth in their communication. Sometimes with high belief trait clients, you will have to be a little bit rigid. So if your personality is very soft and flowy and totally the opposite of rigid, it might be difficult for you to get them to collaborate. We need to kind of meet them in their rigidity and be very firm about certain things in order for them to then step towards us and start enacting some changes. The leitmotif behind all of this is that we need to get them to experiment in real life what they think to be true today, because it might be true still, or it might not be true anymore. And that way we have to experiment new things, try new perspectives, get out of that absolute truth that they hold on to like a lifeline. Let's jump to the opposite spectrum. So now we have someone who has a low trait, which means that they delegate their power to the guide, the consultant, the shrink, the husband, to someone else, to know what they should do and how they should do it, and to have ideas to other people. We want to give them a positive point of reference that's inside them. Usually I tell them, you have to start connecting and feeling if this feels right. How do you know if it feels right? Your body is relaxed or a little bit more relaxed, so that they can learn to rely on motivating themselves to feel more confident about their ideas. We also want to manage them in a very cheerful and positive way, making them feel confident in themselves, in their abilities. So here is where motivation, encouragement, emotional support is very important. If the trait is below 20, you have to help them identify areas of inconsistency or excessive volatility. This is also where they would achieve the lowest results. So I always go into the actual now present time results. And you identify the people with whom they feel uncertain. Who are the gurus and the guides and the people that your client with a low trait follows, believes? You know, who are these people? When the belief trait is even lower, so we're talking about minus 30, it might indicate that there are toxic people in his life, toxic relationships. So, and people with the motivating communication tend to make those around them feel extremely uncertain. So if I'm afraid of failure and I don't have a strong belief system inside me, I will look outside to have a belief system to adopt and to guide me through life. If the person that is leading me is toxic, demotivates me, criticizes me, judges me, obviously my fear of failure and my sense of deep uncertainty amplifies. And then I get even more dependent on this lifeline with this toxic person. When you have a belief trait below 40, it is really difficult to get your client to change towards their desired direction. So you might have to step in with a more authoritarian and directive role with detailed work plans and regular check-ins and verification of execution, because for these people, they might have toxic relationships around them, they're extremely reactive, and they don't have a good relationship with accountability. So we might have to babysit them a little bit. To summarize, for high scores, an exercise that you can propose amongst the many that you obviously have up your sleeve is to change small habits by overcoming discomfort or to try new things, new food, do silly things like rolling around on the grass, stop shaving yourself for like a week. So you want to encourage them to step outside their comfort zone and to do things they would never do otherwise, because their system is so rigid that it will not allow them. If you have a lower score, you want to bring in a little bit of consistency and structure. So you might use a small ritual in the morning, and you might use procedures, you might use protocols, you might use check-ins and directives and instructions and follow-ups. On a deeper level, beliefs are the frequency through which we broadcast our life. Fear can harden beliefs, so I must be right to be safe. The desire to please can dilute our beliefs. I'll believe what you believe so that you will love me and accept me, and I won't be alone. Mature beliefs, which is where we want to help our clients get, are both loving and testable. Stand in my truth, and I am willing to learn. So when we help a client or a team member move toward that space, we're not just improving performance, we are freeing up energy that was trapped in defending my beliefs or in abandoning them and delegating them to somebody else.